Okay, so we are here today talking about youth and young adult advocacy. And thank you for joining. As I mentioned earlier, this is the last of a five-session series around mental health advocacy. We have turned a day on the Hill, our traditional day of going to Capitol Hill to lobby legislators, into days on the Hill. 4 weeks, we've talked about how to tell your story, the importance of telling your story about your journey through mental illness. We've talked about how to tell that story if you're from a marginalized community, such as the LGBTQ community or the African American community. We've also talked about social media, how to use that as a strategy for reaching out to legislators and getting your story out. And so here we are today at the end of our series, but it's not the end of our advocacy. And we're going to be talking about engaging young adults in mental health advocacy. So at NAMI, and I see many familiar names here. Many of you are involved with NAMI, and some of you do know this. NAMI nationally has made it a priority to focus on youth and young adults. So we at NAMI Tennessee are also making it a priority in our advocacy. So there's a few people I want to recognize. And as you're joining, if you could put your name and title and where you're from in the chat box, that would be great. So first I want to recognize Jeff Fladen. Jeff is our executive director for NAMI Tennessee. Jeff, do you want to say any words?
Well, sure, I'll never miss that opportunity, being the executive director, but thank you all for being here today. And young people are the future. You can make change in what's happening with laws at a local level, a state level, at the federal level. It's really important, and that you take the time to check it out, learn. We're really fortunate to have Alisa here. She's been doing a great job with the series. And if folks miss it, please make sure they get the replay. And we hope to see you in the legislative arena down the road. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Jeff. And we also have with us today Tyler Reedy, who is one of our NAMI Tennessee board members. He's active in the Nashville business community, and we are very glad to have you here. So thanks. Thank you very much. And I see we've got some people here from our affiliates. We've got Robin from NAMI Davidson, Mark from NAMI Wilson. Is that right? NAMI Wilson? I'm not confusing my counties, am I? Okay. Mary Nell from NAMI Knoxville. So I hope I'm not forgetting anybody. So thank you all for being here. There's a lot of our affiliates across the state who definitely are interested in young adult advocacy. So I'm going to share my screen real quick because my intern here, I'm going to give her full credit for this PowerPoint, and it's just real brief. Okay. So we've all heard in the news about the rising suicide rates, but just in 10 years, according to the CDC, we've seen an increase of 56% of suicide in the young adult population. And we know that half of the lifetime cases of mental illness start showing symptoms by age 14, but sometimes it can take up to 10 years before an individual will get a diagnosis. So that puts them in that college age range for having a psychotic break, for instance, or having symptoms of severe mental illness or a mental health challenge, such as anxiety and depression. What we're also seeing is that 70% of young adults see depression and anxiety as a major issue among their peers. And 59% of young adults with major depression don't receive any mental health services. So I just want to also share with you this, this infographic. 8.8 million young adults reported having a mental illness, and 5.1 million of young adults reported having a substance use disorder. So here's some common signs. We won't go into that today because if you're here, chances are you already know the signs. Trouble sleeping, trouble concentrating, loss of interest in hobbies. And that's one of the things we do here at NAMI is to help educate the community and, legislators, schools about the signs and symptoms. So, and I do just want to mention a few resources here. And I will make this available on our website, our Days on the Hill webpage at namitn.org. That's our NAMI Tennessee website. Very, these are the resources that we have on our website routinely. And then I just wanted to make them available today in case there was anybody in a mental health challenge. So, as I mentioned, NAMI nationally has a renewed interest in reaching out to youth and young adults. And what we're seeing as a national organization is a shift in the attention around mental illness, especially with the pandemic. That's obvious. We've been experiencing that in our families, in our workplaces, in our neighborhoods, and seeing it in the news, just the rise in the percentages of people that now say that they have a mental health challenge. It used to be 1 in 5. That's the common statistic that we use at NAMI. 1 in 5 individuals in a given year have a mental health challenge. Well, according to the CDC over the summer, that was 1 in 2 people. This was after the pandemic kicked in and we were on lockdown and all that. So, and it's affecting all of us at all ages. So, but again, we really want to see what we can do here at NAMI Tennessee to start bringing young people into the conversation, colleges and universities, and what we can do. How can we be a catalyst and a collaborator? So, that being said, I would like to. I'm going to call on different people, and I would like us to engage in a conversation about what is taking place on college campuses in terms of whether it's counseling, whether it's mental health policy, whether it's mental health advocacy. And I'm going to start with Ms. Kennedy. I'm not sure if I'm saying your name right, Sharniqua. So.
I can share what we are doing on the campus of Tennessee State University within the Counseling Center. We do see students both individually and in larger group settings. With the pandemic, our services to them are virtual. So what we've done continuously since March, so for a full year, we have been very intentional about our student engagement in terms of having programming that has been constant, which is not typical for us. Usually during the summer, there's a bit of a reprieve from programming because we have fewer students on campus, but we still see students individually. But with recognizing the changes that our students were adapting to, we have continuously had programming that has been both interactive as well as more passive engagement in terms of utilizing our social media in a different way. We've started a series that's called Friday Conversations with Counseling. We do it twice a month. For the month of March, we happen to have had 3 conversations, but we center around different mental health topics, and we invite guests to join in the conversation with a member of our staff, where we normalize having those conversations so our students begin to feel a lot more comfortable and understanding that to some extent what they may experience is what anybody in a difficult situation could experience, or different disruptions that don't necessarily reflect a mental health illness, but they can reflect a disruption to wellness in different ways that they can cope and ensure that they have healthy behaviors. Along with that, we do have a mental health screener that's available. There are other college campuses that offer this mental health screen through MindWise as well. Students can access it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They can check it periodically or take it periodically just to have a gauge of how they may be responding to what's going on. We do see typical things like depression and anxiety, but we're also seeing an increase in academic distress as students have had to adapt to online learning. For some of them, they have adapted pretty easily. I think for some, the expectation was with our students being younger that that would be an easy transition, but it has not been. For some, it is not their preferred way of learning, or it's not the way that they learn best. And so we've really tried to support different things that they can do to ensure that they're still having their needs met academically, reaching out to different sources that are available on our campus that can support their academic success and ensure that they're functioning the best that they can. So we have also been intentional about our partnerships with our campus community, so other departments, student organizations, as well as our community partners, being intentional about planning what we offer, how we offer services to students, and ensure that we are continuously offering the opportunities for our students to, one, again, normalize the conversations around mental health just as they would about their physical health. And so the more that we have the opportunity for our students to know that this is just an everyday conversation, it's okay to check in with how you're doing. It's okay to ask a friend, how are you doing? What are you doing for your self-care? What are you doing for your mental health? Just as you would, how are you doing in class? What are you doing for this assignment? Just making sure that they understand the importance of having those conversations on a consistent basis, that they're checking in with themselves, especially for our students who may identify as being more isolated. Maybe they didn't have a strong social support prior to the pandemic, especially how they can still ensure that they are reaching out, that they have at least one or two people that they feel comfortable with talking to, so that we can lessen disruptions to wellness. And when students find themselves in that situation, that they feel comfortable enough to reach out to us or someone else on our campus who can help direct them and still support them, still be an advocate for them, still encourage them to do things that are helpful in terms of reestablishing what normal functioning and mood looks like for them. And when it's appropriate, to reach out to the counseling center and knowing that we're available too. And we are a part of their support network. We don't replace family. We don't replace students have a relationship with a house of worship. We don't replace that. We become a part of that. And I think it's important for students to understand that too, that we're all working together to support their needs. It's not an either or.
That's great. It sounds like there's really been a commitment on the part of TSU to invest time and resources in that. Now, do you have any kind of, or are you aware of any kind of youth advocacy around mental illness, like any kind of clubs, anything like that?
So we do have a NAMI chapter on our campus. And one of the initiatives of our SGA president is that we will actually have a wellness symposium on March 27th. And it is open, it's specifically for HBCUs because that is one of the populations communities that are represented that often don't get the same attention. And so this idea was that of our SGA president. So we're partnering with them, we're collaborating together to provide a full day of different workshop sessions that students can attend. We do have keynote speakers that are a part of that event as well, to really bring attention to overall wellness and how mental health becomes a part of that. So focusing on other dimensions as well as mental health.
Okay, great. Great. So she mentioned NAMI on campus, and some of you might be wondering what that is. So that is like a club, like any other club on campus, that is NAMI oriented. And the way it works ideally is that it is partnered with a NAMI affiliate in the same community. So I know that we have one at Union University in West Tennessee, and that's all that we're aware of. And Robin, did you want to make any comments? So Robin is executive director of NAMI Davidson. But let me see if I can let me unmute you. Hold on.
There we go. All right. You know, no matter how often any of us get on these calls, we're always guilty of somebody of doing that. So yes, thank you. I'm over here at NAMI Davidson County. We have a full service NAMI for those of you that may not know that. I'm an executive director. We have an office and we function with a whole variety of programs. So NAMI on campus, we did start one, so it's been about 4 years ago, I think, that it was started over there at TSU. Our graduate had left there, and I knew that there was some leadership there. Glad to see that we still have some things going there, and looking forward to Shaniqua and I getting together and talking a little more about the one over there at TSU. We've got interest at Fisk, Vanderbilt, and as of yesterday, Meharry. And so the only thing that we've been delayed by is we had a grant come through last year, and AmeriGroup, thank you very much. And with that, we were planning and are planning to hire a youth coordinator position, and that position will come in sometime between now and June. We are in the process of having our annual NAMI Walks Greater Nashville right now. And so that kind of takes up a lot of our time, but we do look forward, any of you that are students that are any of the local campuses in the Greater Nashville area, which is Davidson County, reach out to me. Would love to have you. You can go on our website, namidavidson.org. And the young lady at TSU was amazing that started us. And she was someone with lived experience. She did a fantastic, she did such a good job that club, the very first year of its existence, got top club of the year at TSU. She did a fantastic job. But we can mold it if you're at a local school and your school is looking at particular things, we'll work with you to support you. It's your club. And that's really important. But locally, as the local affiliate, we'll work to support you in terms of, materials and ideas and, focus, anything you want to do around that, because these groups can be so important in terms of awareness and advocacy. Some of the things that Shaniqua was saying as far as, the lack of stigma. I will be so happy when we don't say mental health anymore, when we just say health. The brain is an organ in the body. Why shouldn't we just treat it like the rest of the body? And so I think these clubs can help us do that. I really do. And so we're looking forward to getting that effort going. In the meantime, if you want to join us for the walk and get some advocacy going that way, we would love to have that. So thank you.
Thank you, Robin. And talking about clubs on campus, this is a good segue to Joseph Sexton. I asked Joseph to join us today. He is from Vanderbilt, and he is part of the Active Minds Club, which is somewhat similar to NAMI Tennessee. And Joseph, do you want to just make a few comments about what you're doing on Vanderbilt's campus with Active Minds?
Yeah, so, and before I start, I always tell people in Zoom calls, I have Tourette syndrome. So I make some noises uncontrollably, and I just let people know that, so my speech might be interrupted from time to time. So Active Minds is, from what I can gather, it's very similar to NAMI on campus. We just organize a lot of mental health programming for students. And I think I can also speak to kind of just like how Vanderbilt handles mental health generally and what I think is really good. So in terms of like what students are doing, a lot of it is just having and hosting conversations about things like substance abuse, which I think is also like a pretty rampant campus problem, talking about drinking culture and just drug culture in general. And then we also just host kind of like mindfulness practicing events. So just last week, and we're kind of like the premier mental health group on campus. So a lot of other organizations will reach out to us and see if we can do anything. So Hillel on campus is a really big organization of Jewish students, and they reached out to see if we could have anything with them. We went to the building that is for Hillel last Friday, and we had multiple tables just with journals. People could pick up journals, practice journaling, deep breathing exercises, and just room for people to have conversation. So we do a lot of outreach in that way. And then the way that I actually got in touch with Alisa was through conversations that we're having about a mental health policy group. So I'm the education outreach coordinator for Vanderbilt Active Minds, and something I'm really interested in as someone that wants to go into research myself is having public policy being kind of like very intersectional with what I do. I think it's also important to note here that college students, many of us, we want to go into the mental health field long term. Again, I just want to do research. I'm very passionate about suicide research. I work with several professors at Vanderbilt. And there are many other students like me that want to be psychologists, that want to be social workers, that want to be advocates, and we're looking for opportunities. So I guess what I'm trying to say with that is part of, I think, what our mental health advocacy should be on college campuses is providing opportunities for students to actually become involved in your efforts. So that's, and me being full disclosure, look, I'm an undergraduate, and most undergraduates, we only know so much, right? But we also are just like, we're learning, we bring our unique skill sets, and we can probably speak to other young adults in a way that is just, special and cannot necessarily be accomplished by older folks. So I think that's just something that's important to bear in mind. And then something else that I think is just always necessary for conversations, and this isn't necessarily on Active Minds, but just on Vanderbilt's outreach to mental health, is that the demand in college students, I think, will always be greater than what a university can necessarily provide. And so that's something that, like Sharniqua, I hope I didn't mispronounce your name. I have a lot of resonance with college mental health professionals because you all will always be blamed by student population for not doing enough. And that is in my experience because the demand is always greater than what there are resources for. And that's not anyone's fault. It's partially because, I look at myself. I am fortunate that I don't seek a therapist incredibly regularly. I should probably talk to a therapist more often. But I think I'm a prototype college student, and that what happens is I'll have a really rough midterm season, or just something socially is a catastrophe. And then, what I need? I need to talk to a therapist, but I need it within days. And that's just not tenable for a college counseling system, I don't think. So Vanderbilt has these drop-in hours, which are great, but they simply can't host for 6,000 students a regular long-term counseling. So what they actually did, we had this Office of Student Care Coordination, and you have this sort of like case manager. And mine, I told her, I said, I prefer if I could have a therapist in the Nashville area that's covered by Cigna, that is within walking distance, or that you all can get me Uber money for so I can get to them and back. And that is a female trained in CBT. And she found that for me. And I think that was Vanderbilt's solution to this problem of how can we kind of like address a situation. And I don't know if there's a name for that sort of system, but it's just something I have a lot of respect for. Other than that, I think you guys are spot on. It's promoting good conversations among students. It's something that is essential. And having that sponsored by counseling centers, like what it sounds like is going on at Tennessee State, as well as just having student organizations that are promoting conversation, that will make it so that when crisis situations do come up, they're handled, even if the counseling center doesn't happen to have a spot open for you long term, or if they're not open at the moment of crisis. It's that we have to train college students to be able to be good peers and friends. So yeah, and also Robin, I saw you post in the chat. Yes, I'm going to be very happy to develop a relationship with you. And like I said, college students are always wanting to get involved. I'll drop my email address in the chat just for anyone that wants to reach out, because again, Vanderbilt students, they are looking for opportunities to invest their time. So yeah, I hope that kind of explains some things. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Joseph. That was great. You brought up a lot of really great points. So you can see, you know, we've got TSU, we've got Vanderbilt, we've got universities and colleges all across the state that have young people that want to get involved with advocacy. And the goal here is to try to for NAMI Tennessee to be that collaborator to bring everybody together. So let's see, I did want to see if Mary Cooper from Tusculum University in my hometown of Greenville, Mary, if you wanted to make any comments, offer any insights or suggestions, or if you just wanted to observe and listen, that's fine.
Hi, I am mostly here to observe and listen. I feel like I'm just absorbing what everyone else is doing. I don't think we have a big advocacy movement on our campus. I was really struck by the point that Joseph just made of how overwhelmed our counseling staff is. At Tusculum, we have a staff of one, and there's just so much need. As he pointed out, it's almost impossible to meet it. Our students, we have a very large proportion of first generation students. So again, they're having that stress of adjusting to college and not having family members who are able to support them and understand what they're going through. And there might be some stigma for having anxiety and things like that. But I won't go on and on and on. I'm really just here to listen. So thank you for including me.
Oh, thanks for being here, Mary. Okay, I am going to call on Passion. She joins us from Tennessee State. Passion, yeah, there you go.
I want to thank the speakers that spoke so far. I just want to speak on, different courses that I think should be implemented, into schools. One is self-love courses, because that ties into everything else, even treating people right and understanding their situation and being empathetic to it. And another thing is meditation courses, that will be a great thing on, just keeping your self-care together, and just looking and being able to looking into yourself and being able to find when you need time to yourself and to step back and observe situations. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you'll be able to find out, maybe somebody else is going through something, and yeah, I am a student of TSU. I graduated in November.
And you're going back for your MSW. Right. Yeah. Those are really good points, Passion. I can tell you that I was asked by my sorority at the University of Tennessee to do a presentation on the signs and symptoms of mental illness. And when I got to the part about mindfulness and meditation, that's where I had the most questions. It was fascinating. They wanted to know about how to cultivate and create that ability to just sit in the present moment, how to breathe, how to relax. And I had so many questions about that. And it turned out that my presentation won the Delta Zeta sorority the first place for programming out of all the sororities and fraternities at UT, because it was the most unique and helpful. So I was really glad to play a part in that. But to me, that shows the interest on college campuses about not only the signs and symptoms of mental illness, but how to cope with it.
Yes. Yes. And I still have some things to say. I think there should be a database to reach out to disability students as well, at all campuses, and foster care as well, students. They go through trauma and different things and signs that people don't see. And then they end up at a college, and social, you know, so the social part of it could be, need to be fixed on. And another thing at TSU, they still have not received their land grant funding. So it would help our mental health as well and our self-care process if we had adequate lights. The lights should not be going off. We shouldn't be in, a place where it doesn't have heat, it doesn't have air. And if the legislative, building works on and politician works on, getting land grant funding, that will provide, so we will be in there at least with some lights and some air, and be able to study better, and focus. We can't focus when we don't have the adequate things that we need.
So Passion, you bring up a really interesting issue because, as the advocacy and policy director here at NAMI Tennessee, I teach people how to tell their story about mental illness, recovery, mental health challenges, but also how to make changes. Now, primarily that's changes at the legislative level, like with our state house and Senate. But I'm envisioning teaching college students how to advocate on their own universities for the things that you're talking about, the things that on campus can make a difference in the students' mental health. So I'm just really starting to see this really great opportunity here. Now, let's see, Regina, you had your hand up.
Yeah.
Have a few words?
Yes. I just would like to say that it's new to the group, and this is my first time. Well, I was on there one other call, but what I'm interested in is students that are young but not in college. Is there any type of group like you have on the college campuses for those types of young people to maybe have a group like that set up? And the concern I have is that I had a friend who had a child that had graduated from college and was off working, had a breakdown, was at that area for 3 years before she could get her to Tennessee, got here, the medicine and all this mess, and she ended up going back down, and there was no place in Shelby County or Memphis that was available for a young person of that age. She had to go to like a care home with older people and that kind of stuff. And so that was a big concern, that an eye opener, that we don't have those type services for the young adults.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I know I had a friend here in Nashville whose son was going through a crisis, and I called on Robin to see, is there any kind of young adult support group? And I don't know if you remember that, Robin, it's been a few months ago, and it just really depends on the community, and there's not a lot out there. Certainly, through NAMI, in different parts of the state through our affiliates, there are support groups for individuals with a mental health condition, and then other support groups for caregivers, family members, loved ones of the individual, but not anything specifically for young adults. And again, this is a new area and new focus for us and a commitment. And that's one of the reasons why we're having this conversation today. Let's see, Jeff Fladen, you had your hand up a little while ago, and I wanted to see if anyone needed to add some words of wisdom. Oh, let's see, I think he's still muted. Okay. I don't think he can get unmuted. Hold on. Oh, there he goes. Okay.
My hand was up by accident, but that's okay. I was writing in the chat box, the Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse has some young adult peer support specialists, and I don't have their number handy, but they have, their consumer helpline number at the Tennessee Department of Mental Health Services to be able to help. And also, most of the mental health centers have some crisis response related counseling for free that was paid for through COVID money. And there's regional 800 numbers for that. And so that'd be one-to-one, not a group, but people that don't have insurance can take advantage of that. And this stuff would be listed, these numbers, in our weekly NAMI at Home e-news, which you can pull off of Facebook or sign up now to get them, because I'm traveling now. I don't have those to put in the chat box.
I just put the website in the chat box. So Robin, you have your hand raised. Oh,
there we go. Yeah, I just wanted to respond to some of the things that you had said. We find it notoriously difficult, and by we, I mean not only NAMI, but Tennessee Voices has been doing some things with youth, and Oasis is excellent in what they do with LGBTQ youth. They've been very consistent with that. But overall, it's very, very difficult to maintain young adult groups because of the fact that everybody's shifting, everybody's in process, everybody's moving on. And so they may be at a period in their life where they're going to do things together, but if you form a group, then people start moving. It's that time of life for people, and that can be really difficult. Dana, I saw in the chat box you were asking if there is an age limit for NAMI groups. I know for our NAMI groups, if we have a very mature 16-year-old, I will include them. That goes for 17 too, but generally we don't include. I won't include anybody, I'll say 18, but usually it's, if you, like I said, mature at 16 or 17 is fine, because the content of the conversations in the support groups can be very adult oriented. Now, I want you to know about a new program we're starting Thursday night. And so what we have heard from our folks in our lived experience support group that occurs once a month is, even prior to COVID, the social isolation. When you have what we like to refer to at NAMI Davidson as stuff. So when you have stuff and maybe you're more socially isolated from other people, it's very hard to have relationships. And sometimes if you, I think I love that Joseph just started his conversation with, hi, I have Tourette's, so I might do this. And just, that's great. I think that's terrific. And so when you have stuff that may keep you at a distance sometimes from other people, and you're comfortable with it, but they may not be, we've started a group on Thursday night. It's an hour long. It's strictly social engagement. It is, if you want the support group, come the third Thursday. But if you want social engagement, where we're letting the group define its name, define part of its purpose. If you need support that night, you can get support. But if you want to talk about the latest ball game, you can do that too. And the reason that we're doing this group is, if you are someone on your journey with a mental health issue, and maybe your voices are active and you're trying to learn how to have a conversation with active voices, then this is a place to do it and feel safe. So we are going to be Bridges informed. We are going to be Connections informed, but we are not specifically those programs. So if you're looking for a place for social engagement, it is not restricted to youth, but that it was one of the main targets we had in doing that. So come along and be a part of the journey of being able to have a conversation, and not worry if you are impacted by your stuff. It's a welcoming place, no judgment, and we hope to help people grow social relationships, resilience, and comfort in social situations. But it is virtual. We are doing it virtually.
I think something might have happened where Alisa got kicked from the group.
Did we lose? We lost Alisa?
Yeah.
All right. Is Jeff still here?
Hey guys, we're just having a little bit of technical difficulties. If you could just give us a moment, we're trying to figure those out.
Okay. Hey, Katie, would it be okay at this time? I don't know several of the people on here while we're waiting. Would it be okay for us to go around and introduce ourselves and where we're from or how we're here? Is that okay?
Sure, yeah, let's do it.
All right. I'll start. I'm Robin Nobling. I'm the Executive Director of NAMI of Davidson County.
I
And
can go next. I'm Katie, and I'm an advocacy intern here at NAMI Tennessee, and then I'm also a social work student at King University.
Hi, I'm James Lauderdale, publisher and CEO of the 37208 magazine. I've written a book called Special in a Good Way that deals with mental health. My latest project is trying to write a TV script that deals with mental health.
Hello, I'm Arabella Bruce. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. I am a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner and a psychiatric mental health nurse educator at the University of Tennessee.
I'm Ann Puckett. I'm from Oak Ridge, Tennessee. I'm with NAMI. I'm a member of NAMI Oak Ridge. I'm currently looking for a job as a certified peer recovery specialist.
My name is Sharon. Go ahead, Dana.
I'm Dana Turney. I'm a family member and was involved in Texas before moving here. And we had ending the silence groups. Is that something that we did in the high schools? I know we're talking about college age here, but is that something that they do? I'm NAMI Davidson.
I'll answer that one here. This is Jeff. We do have an active Ending the Silence program, and get my camera back on. We've hired a coordinator whose name is Rachel Wilson, R.Wilson at namitn.org. We're actively looking for presenters that train online. And these are people between the age of 18 to 35 that have had a mental health condition, and they are paired with what we call a lead presenter that talks about mental health awareness. And it can be junior high or high school. So it's not treatment and it's not a support group. It's mental health awareness and stigma reduction. And there's a suicide prevention component. So Dana, thanks for that. And we're actively recruiting now. And we'd like to do a little bit of a push before the end of the school year, because COVID has really set us back with this, but we've hired and rebuilt the program and have done some online trainings already. So you train online, you coach online, and presentations can be online, or if people are in school and comfortable going in schools, that can happen. R. Wilson at namitn.org, or just go to our webpage, you can find it. And we hope to hear from some folks.
Because they were in the schools, they always had the counselor come in and, or we gave them the counselor's names, just if they had any issues that came up as backup. I'm just wondering how something like that would be handled.
Well, that is part of it, yes. And this is great, Dana, what you're doing to bring these points out. Part of it is to talk to a trusted adult. So with Ending the Silence, we're in a classroom typically. And so people aren't really disclosing what they're going on. The speaker shares their journey, but we talk about knowing who a trusted adult is, and it can be a school counselor. And now in Tennessee, we have a growing number of what's called school liaisons, which are funded through the Department of Mental Health, and something that we've advocated for to go back to advocacy. So every county ought to be having that as they, and that could be a trusted adult. It could be the school guidance counselor. It could be the family physician or a clergy even, or a relative, so that's part of it is, okay, so I have a concern, who do I talk to? And then we share some resources also, like a TSPN, we share that. We share 741, which is the text hotline number,
Yeah.
and other resources that are on our resource list.
Okay. We had evaluation forms we passed out, and oftentimes people would, write things on the evaluation form that they didn't want to speak about, because we let, opened it up to answering questions, and people would, talk about others, not so much about themselves. So anyway, thank you.
Yeah, I think there's certainly there's certainly an opportunity to discuss ending the silence further.
Yeah.
If we could get through the introductions, because we're getting short on time and need to wrap up. I'd like to just get some ideas about advocacy and how we can all work together with moving the needle, so to speak, at the state capitol. So actually, if we could just stop the introductions for right now, because we did introduce a lot of people in the chat box. Sorry if you didn't get to introduce yourselves, but I'd like to just entertain a discussion about what NAMI Tennessee can do to collaborate and work among different universities to get students more involved with advocacy. I'm just going to open the floor.
This is Sharon Ross. I am an advocate for NAMI. I'm also a QPR instructor, and my area is with students. I've been at TSU and Fisk. I also go into churches, bringing awareness about suicide. And some of the things that I notice is that the power of their voices is very powerful. There are some groups that I am affiliated with, and one is called Safe Place. And it is in regards to mental illness. It was developed for people of color. So we have deep conversations, and I monitor it very closely in regards to those that are in depression and anxiety. I work in the streets of Nashville, so I come in contact with a lot of individuals, and I do push NAMI as a resource so that people will start to connect with NAMI, and NAMI can take them on and introduce them to the different classes that they are having, which a lot of parents know nothing about, that can also start a conversation with parents and children. And that's the biggest thing I'm seeing. There's no conversation as in the family. And it's more of, we don't want this put in the business in the street, or we need to hush about this. That's long gone. So I advocate very highly to talk about things, because when it comes out of the dark to the light, it disappears a whole lot.
Exactly. And that's why we had our sessions earlier in this series about telling your story. What we're going to be doing here at NAMI Tennessee is launching a new online platform called Quorum, and it's used by our national organization, and we're going to have the ability for you to submit your stories. So like, for instance, if you are somebody who has been institutionalized and you have that unique perspective, what we're trying to do is story banking, collecting stories from advocates across the state. So when there's an issue at the state capitol, I can go through my list and say, oh, like Jane, she can speak to the need for more school mental health counselors. We can talk to legislators about that. Or Joe over here, he can talk about the need to expand TennCare because more people need health insurance and mental health coverage. So just know that we are going to have a story banking function. And the way you'll access that will be, I'll send out an email, and ideally we'll have a page on our website where you can submit your story for advocacy. So anybody else have any thoughts about collaboration on advocacy?
Yeah, I was going to say, and Katie made a really good point in the chat, just saying that contacting program coordinators, I don't know exactly what that process looks like, but I imagine it cannot be too horribly complex. I'm a psychology student, and I get emails regularly with different opportunities, typically for scholarships or graduate programs or internship opportunities. But if you were to find, literally just searching like Vanderbilt psychology, and there will be some sort of contact. If you reach out to them, you can have a message getting sent out to the students in that degree program. Then there's also, if you wanted to look to see if there are mental health organizations, or any organization, if you're interested in advocating for like people of color or speaking to issues in the LGBTQ community, most universities have just some sort of website that will host a list of all their organizations and then who the relevant contacts are. So if you went onto, a program, if you went on Vanderbilt's website and you typed in the chat box like LGBTQ, an organization would pop up with contacts. You can contact them, and then it could totally be arranged. How we do it at Active Minds, people reach out to us from other organizations, and then we just talk about the next board meeting. We say, how do we want to organize this? Let's see the contact. And that's how we'll go for most organizations. If you reach out to them, they want to hear your perspective on things. And people like to host events, and we really like when other people volunteer to host them for us. Because it makes it very easy. We just have to host you instead of Zoom call or the room if it's in person. And then, just reaching out with opportunities yourself for people to get involved is good. So that would be my recommendation.
Okay, great. That's helpful. Let's see, James, you have your hand raised? Did you have anything you wanted to say or contribute? Oops, hold on, let's see. Oops. I accidentally, there you go.
Okay, thanks. So my question was, I guess it's been partially answered somewhat. Sorry, my Wi-Fi kind of gone out, but my question was, is there a move to have group therapy over Zoom, or additional groups that can meet more often through Zoom, through video conferencing?
So a lot of our affiliates across the state have been meeting by Zoom during COVID. They've been having their support groups by Zoom, whether that's for the individual or the support groups for the family members. So yes, if you go to our website, namitn.org, I believe on the front page, there is a list of support groups and who's meeting where. And the beauty of it is that you don't have to be in Oak Ridge if you're to actually attend a meeting like in Memphis. If you're in Oak Ridge, you can attend a meeting in Memphis online or, somewhere else. So,
okay,
yeah.
That's good to know.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great.
Let's see. We're at 5 till, and I know I see Passion and Robin. I don't know if you're if you had additional comments. I want to see if there's anybody else who hasn't spoken yet. What I would like to do is, as we move on from here, we still have several weeks of the legislative session, and we have bills that are affecting different segments of the mental health area, different, they affect people's lives differently. And so what I will be doing is sending out advocacy alerts and giving you ways to get involved with writing to your legislator. We will have, again, more storytelling trainings in the future. Robin made a comment here in the chat box. I believe students are leading the way in advocacy. They are so much more open than adults. They have less reticence about bringing up topics. I would agree. I would agree. Let's see, we just have a couple more minutes. And again, I'll see if anybody else wants to chat.
Alisa, I want to throw
Yes.
in one comment. There's been really great ideas here. I agree with what Robin Noblin said about they're looking to receive some funding and hiring a youth and young adult coordinator. But I would also add there's so many organizations when you look at colleges and workplaces and schools and everything else that it would be hard for any one organization to get information out anywhere. And so therefore, NAMI being a grassroots organization, a lot of the work is being done by volunteers. So folks that are on this call and your friends, if you are talking with groups, a church, a school club, what have you, we can help you to share some of this information with the group that you're already involved in. So it's maybe easier than sort of cold calling and asking and explaining, and someone has to get it approved. So use us as a resource, please, with your own networks. And we also really strive to do the same as much as we can.
Thanks, Jeff. Loretta, you had your hand raised.
Yes, I would just like to introduce myself as first. I just joined last year into NAMI, and I'm over here in Gibson County, so kind of in between Gibson and Madison County. And I kind of joined for a couple different reasons. One, for having a child with an illness, and then the other because I work in the education field. And so I've kind of witnessed a lot of what's been talked about in the school districts. And I'm right now, I'm wanting to get as much education as I can to be able to address it with the school district and to go about, how to go about doing that with the right education and the right resources. So everything I find right now is very interesting.
Great. Then you'll probably be interested in the Teacher Discipline Act that NAMI Tennessee.
Yes, I'm already signed up.
Oh my gosh, we have been really involved. We actually tried submitting an amendment to the bill and they didn't take it. For those of you who don't know, the Teacher Discipline Act would make it easier for teachers to remove students from the classroom for disciplinary reasons if they're acting up. The student would be taken to the principal's office. And our concern is that if a child is in a mental health crisis, this becomes a disciplinary issue instead of a pathway to get them help. And so NAMI Tennessee, I personally and our lobbyists have been talking with the bill sponsors. I've personally written committee members, and I'll be sending you out some more information about ways that you all can get involved in the letter writing. So Loretta, you might want to watch.
I travel a lot, so I go to DC a lot, and I do a lot of traveling. And besides, working, I just closed one of my daycares so that I can do more resource finding. And besides dealing with children of special needs, the suicide rate, like had been mentioned. So I'm not going to name my school district, but it's a very sought out school district. But what is always pushed under the rug, and it's, that, parents don't want to go and get, I don't say don't want to, they don't know where to. So my daughter graduating in 2019, there has been 3 suicides in our school. And it's horrible because the resources are there. It's just getting the resources to the district.
Right.
And so that's what I'm really, sought out and getting. And so I don't want another one, I don't want to lose another child or like you said, move on to college when things get a lot rougher and there's more books and there's more need, and then, get that far and then something mentally happening. So I don't want to jabber because it's over, but I'm very interested in NAMI and I really like it. I've actually got my daughter's psychiatrist joining, and he actually was in the program in California. So he just transferred here to Madison County, and he's getting ready to join with our group here soon. So
that is great, Loretta. I mean, we're seeing a lot of movement and interest in Gibson County and in that part of the state. So we're really excited about that. There's such great opportunities to
Yes.
for us to grow and be a household name, throughout the state. So it's exciting. So Loretta, and for everybody else, I just put my email address in the chat box. So
thank you.
Feel free to reach out. We are a little bit after 5 o'clock. I'm willing to stay on if anybody wants to chat a little bit more. But we appreciate you being here. Check back on our website for some additional resources. And thank you so much for being with us on this journey through the days on the Hill.
Great.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And I do have some things to say. I have
Yeah,
been
Passion, you want to?
raised for a while.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yes, I feel like we're in a competition world, like where this person is trying to be this person trying to be that. But a lot of people might not make it to that position. So that makes them feel like they're nothing, If you have a disability, and you're competing with all these different students, and at jobs it happens too. So just making people feel like whatever title I have or whatever I accomplished, I could still make somebody else feel like they're somebody as well. I think that has a lot to do with the mental health situation that's going on in this world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it sounds like that. I don't know if you've considered becoming a certified peer recovery specialist. A peer who can help other people through their journey, but there's certainly an avenue for that.
I'm definitely writing it down.
Yeah, I'll include the resources that Jeff mentioned from the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services. There is a whole division on youth mental health. So I'll include that contact information in our resources that we'll provide.
One other thing, Alisa, we are bringing back another program called In Our Own Voice, which is where an adult who's living with a mental health condition gets training in sharing their story and talking in front of others. And so that's also, it's free, it's online. We've just made a hire to build that program back up. And that could be also an avenue for folks to want to kind of find their voice that may have had struggles and share their stories. So if you could share that as well, Lisa, that'd be great.
Okay, I'll be glad to. Okay, Loretta, do you have something else you wanted to?
No, I think that I was just that was my only thing, was just the interest in getting all the information. I think it's just my main thing, and just getting the word of NAMI out there, because anytime I see someone, I mention it. I'm actually working with a family in Illinois right now who just had to place a child. And so I'm just giving resources, and I think that's just my goal right now. Actually, he's not a child, he's 26, but a child to me. And so just getting NAMI out there, because I never heard of it. My daughter's now 20 years old. I could have used this 20 years ago. So just like I said, just getting it out there, I guess that's my main thing, and getting it in the right hands, and educating the schools on how to deal with what's going on in the schools. I think my next thing is educating officers. I think that's my next one, is to move on to working with police officers and just all the officials that approach situations of people with disabilities. You know, my daughter doesn't have those, but I see them every day. And I just want, I guess, just to, I don't know, just get the right information out to the right people.
Well, then you can help us in our advocacy at the state capitol to get more funding for our, it's called Crisis Intervention Team Training. It's the program that pulls together stakeholders in the community, law enforcement, mental health providers, and so forth, and creates an opportunity for law enforcement officers to be better trained to respond to individuals with a mental health crisis.
Yes.
So we can call on you for advocacy on
Definitely.
that.
I most definitely count me in. I just have I just see so much. You know, I moved back home to, to Tennessee 8 years ago. I was born and raised here. The voice left me when I left the Southern, but there's just a lot of even laws that are different here. I see parents, and being one myself, when my daughter turned 18, you no longer have rights to a child who's got a mental disability. And in Tennessee, you have to wait 90 days before they turn 18 to get a lawyer that you have to pay for, which we had no problem doing. But I see that being a crisis for other families, versus in Illinois, you can do it at the age of 12 with the right, the right medical papers to oversee them after they're 18. So there's a lot of things that I'm got going here that I want to see. I want to see changes in that, for make things easier for the situations and how to address them.
I would love to help you harness that energy to work for us. So thank you for getting up to 5, 10 after. So we'll go ahead and bring this to an end. Thank you so much for being here with us today. It was another great conversation. And thanks for joining us for the Days on the Hill series. Bye.
Bye. Thanks.